And if you's a true player, I'm going to go over some recent reads. I have like 4 books that I'd like to talk about today. The first book that I am reading is Life and Fate by Vasily Grossman. This is the first work of Vasily Grossman that I have read. It was recommended to me by Daniel Backer, who posts videos on here quite frequently and lives nearby me, so he has told me a lot about that book. And he recommended Stalingrad, but we were originally going to read Life and Fate together, but he ended up going in a different direction. And I started it. I am about 300 pages into it now. It reads, so Vasily Grossman was a journalist, and his writing style sounds very documentary-like. Piece as being professionally, he was a journalist, so his tone in his fiction sounds very much in that vein. It's written in these short chapters that focus on different characters. There's a wide variety of characters, and they all have different. Some are scientists, some are military, some are more domestic stories, and they all kind of are giving you a snapshot of a particular aspect of living in Russia during the World War II. So there's a lot of conversations. Some of the characters participate in like kind of philosophical dialogues about their political views relating to fascism, relating to communism. The chapters are very short, so there's a lot of conversations. Some of the characters participate in like kind of philosophical dialogues about their political views relating to fascism, relating to communism. The chapters are very short, and that kind of makes it a little bit hard for me to connect with. I do, because I feel like I'm staying with a particular story for this short fragment of time, and then whether or not I like that particular story or not, it disappears very frequently and moves on to something else typically. So I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I definitely find it's easy to read. So I think that the fact that it's not very difficult is a big reason why I've stuck with it as long as I have. And we'll see if my opinion of it changes. It has kind of vacillated back and forth. Some stretches I will really enjoy it and find it very thought-provoking, and other moments I will find it a bit dry. But I'm still happy to read it. I like this particular area of history, so I am willing to give it a shot. I definitely definitely still curious about Stalingrad. I have heard that people like Stalingrad. Some people like Stalingrad more than Life and Fate, and so so it seems like those 2 books are actually not as similar as I thought they originally were. Life and Fate, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is considered the sequel to Stalingrad. So I was under the impression that these 2 books were tonally similar. But the little bit of research that I have done leads me to think that these 2 books are actually different from each other, have less similarities than I originally expected. So it's not making me disinterested in reading other books by him. I do have Everything Flows. I don't know what that it's going to sound like it's a much shorter book, and I'm curious about the topic, but on the fence about whether or not I will. It will be very high up on my list at the end of the year. In my previous video, I talked about Javier Serena, his book Last Words on Earth, which was about Roberto Bolaño, who is a kind of profile of a fictionalized version of Bolaño, which touched on themes of the artistic journey and kind of the mental gymnastics that artists go through to justify their lifestyle and the time they spend creating their art. It was a very heavy text, and I really enjoyed it. I think he's a fantastic writer, so I needed to read Attila, which Attila is written in a similar vein as Last Words on Earth. It is about a Spanish writer by the name of Alia Shakol, and it is focusing on the theme of kind of the mental kind of illness that he's struggling with. He is a very naive man. One could say that he's very naive, that he's just self-destructive, that he may or may not have suffered from some sort of mental illness throughout his life, and kind of the how that really impacts his personal relationships with his father. He comes into conflict with his father quite a lot, and he when there's moments in the book where doors are opening to him professionally, and he is his mental struggles with feeling like he is feeling like he is intelligent, struggling with insecurity. He is being self-destructive in those opportunities that are opening up to him professionally. So it seems like Javier Serena is very into getting inside the psyche of an artist, and he communicates that very well. This was a great book. I really liked it. Last Words on Earth was personally preferred that over Attila, but this is a fantastic read, and I'm very interested in hoping that more translators like Katie Whitmore translate his work into English so that more people become more familiar with Serena's work. I concluded my reading of Sebald's work, but when I finished Vertigo earlier this year. I'm a big Sebald fan. My personal favorite of his is Austerlitz. It is a travelogue in this of him kind of traveling through Vienna and other parts of Europe. It opens with a biography of a man who turns out to be the writer Stendhal, and it is, but tonally the theme seems to also actually be about insecurity and anxiety. There were some sections that felt like they were maybe allusions to Thomas Mann's Death in Venice. I felt like there were a lot of allusions. Was a bit hard for me to connect with, very much like how I felt about Rings of Saturn. I felt like the prose and the sound of the writing was very beautiful, but the way all these parts connected with each other, these historical moments and this kind of documentary style writing, and the subject matter of the text, each component I seemed to be unsure about how these themes connected with one another. And that's kind of how I felt about Rings of Saturn and also about Immigrants. So while I like Sebald, I think the reason why I prefer Austerlitz the most is because it seems like it's taking everything that I like about Sebald's writing, his interest in history, his interest in documentary and travelogue writing, and filtering it through one particular person, one particular immigrant, and kind of focusing on how exactly it feels to be a German immigrant living in England. So I think that the issue that I have with Vertigo is kind of the issue that I have with the majority of Sebald's writing. It's kind of not entirely what I feel is not entirely focused, but the reason why I'm always drawn to him is his subject matter, his prose. I still think that he's a fantastic writer, but requires a lot of contemplation to figure out, okay, how exactly are all these parts connected, which makes his writing difficult to read. So the final book I will talk about is Context Collapse, a poem containing a history of poetry by Ryan Ruby. This is an extremely unique text, in my opinion. It is like the subtitle suggests, this is a poem. It is written like a poem, written in the style of a poem, but it is about the history of poetry. It is looking at the history of poetry through a kind of media studies lens. And it is, so I learned a lot about the oral tradition of poetry, how the printing press changed the way poetry was presented, how it was laid out on the page, how it was written, and also how modernist poetry kind of, through its experimentation, deeply impacted the public opinion about poetry as being this kind of very abstract, ineffable, intangible type of writing that a very small segment of the population actually read, due to its inaccessibility. It really made me interested in reading poetry. I have tried since reading that book to pick up more poetry. I still think that I find it to be a daunting task. I wanted to read Homer. I still have not read Iliad and the Odyssey, so that is something that still interests me very much. But I really liked Ryan Ruby's Context Collapse and recommend it to anyone who is interested in poetry, whether people who read poetry or those who want to get started, because it really helps to contextualize the whole history of poetry as a whole. So that concludes my video. Thank you for watching, thank you for reading, and thank you for spending time with me today. Take care.